We have the number one infrastructure, right? The number one ranked medium-sized airport in North America, I think 12 years running. 3 premier inland ports. We have a beach. We have 43 miles of beach, just like going to the ocean. We're bordered by more water than we are land. Talent, we have the number one engineering college, Rose-Hulman, 27 years running per U.S. News and World Report. We have the largest medical school at IU. We have Purdue with multiple number one online engineering degrees. We've got Notre Dame up there with the largest Catholic research university. Mission critical industries, we've got the number one valued pharma company,
Sure.
the number one pure play ag company, the number 2 animal health company. The number one thing that they all say when they come here is, we didn't know that this ecosystem existed. You people are really nice. You actually make the connections. We didn't realize you had all these assets. And I want to expand my business here, or some of them have actually moved here. Is I'm going to move here and start my business.
Welcome back to Innovate or Evaporate. I am not Toph Day. I'm Mitch Frazier, president of IBJ Media, and elated to be here with Toph Day to celebrate the new home of Innovate or Evaporate on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Toph, welcome to the IBJ Media Podcast Network.
Thank you, Mitch. This is like a full circle moment. We are so excited to be in your network. I think the first, back when I was like 27, 28 years old, is back when I had my first interactions with with Insight in their business,
right,
and IBJ. So this is awesome. This is really exciting.
Well, it is exciting, Toph, to bring this content to IBJ readers, to Inside Indiana business readers, to the Indiana Lawyer, all of our brands across the IBJ Media Network. You have built a powerful platform here with Innovate or Evaporate. Started this back in 2025, so we're a year in. I think I just heard you crossed over 100,000 downloads already on the network or on the podcast. You've built just this amazing engine that has attracted some really interesting talent. You've had A-Rod, athlete on. You've had Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank on. You've had authors. You've had Purdue president Mung Chang. A lot of folks who have come on to talk entrepreneurship, innovation, business, investment. It's incredible.
It's been an amazing journey, and I think that all those folks, there's like a common theme when you talk to all those folks. And it is, your origin does not dictate your destination. And like, we used to live in a world where things were siloed,
right?
And we just don't live in that world anymore. And so I think it's so exciting when you talk to these people and you learn their stories, and then you naturally can relate that to whatever you might be doing, whether I'm a teacher in high school or whether I'm a economic development leader or participant, whatever it might be. We can capture so many incredible ideas by just listening to others.
I think you're being a little humble. This is my hunch here, Toph. The reason why I think Innovate or Evaporate is such a powerful podcast, why we're so excited to see it on the IBJ Media Podcast Network, is this is your story. You're an entrepreneur yourself. You've started 8 companies, if I remember right. You've been an investor. You've been an operator. You're working with entrepreneurs every day. Your story is their story. Their story is your story. As you think about building this platform, sharing these stories, inspiring audiences, is this for entrepreneurs? Is it for business leaders? Who do you see Innovate or Evaporate really being built to serve?
So that's a great question. And actually, that just gave me chills just thinking about people. So there's a little phrase I like, and it's innovation is not just entrepreneurs and investors. Innovation impacts everybody, right? It's our educators, it's our economic development leaders, our policymakers. And I think the key to be successful in the future is we can no longer think in silos. When we think about like industries, verticals, companies, people, like, this is what I do. It's something separate. If you're, whatever you're doing today, if you're starting a company, if you're joining a company, there are so many components in any one given company. If I'm making some kind of a watch, like, is it healthcare? Is it sports tech? Is it hard tech? Like, what is it? It's all of those things.
Yeah.
And we have to, like, bringing disparate stakeholders together, cross sector, that's where the magic happens. In like my own personal experience, like the engineers and the product folks I've worked with, some of the most brilliant ones they were musicians. So they're creative economy, they're creators.
I mean, a friend of ours collectively, RJ Tallier,
yes,
now leading Backstroke, an AI marketing company. A guy, if I remember right, has a master's in fine arts.
There you go.
Right. I mean, a great example of someone here in Indiana doing amazing work in artificial intelligence who didn't come to this world as a coder.
Yeah. ADD, ADHD.
Right.
Like, I think that's an asset. I don't know if I have it or not. I probably have a little twinge. I feel like everybody I know has a little something, right? A little somewhere on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And we used to call those like conditions and things. I don't think they're conditions. These are assets that enable people to think differently, and that's how we get breakthrough.
It is the piece of innovation that I've come to really enjoy, getting to know you and the work that we've done together in multiple iterations over the last couple decades together is, innovation is so often looked at as, well, that's the tech guy's thing, or innovation is, well, that's a venture capital thing. Not untrue,
Yeah.
but also not true.
That's right.
I mean, this idea innovation exists all around us. And when I look at Innovate or Evaporate, that's what you're bringing to the market.
That's right. Like, shock the system.
Right.
Let's think differently. And, one of the reasons that we started Innovate or Evaporate is, you've heard me talk about this before, but this concept of the productivity boom, it's well underway. We're into it now at least 5 years, if not 7-10 years. And that concept is the disruption of data and technology faster than ever to all industries. Global economists talk about this all the time. And kind of general belief is that the epicenter, this global phenomenon, that the epicenter is going to be the middle corridor, of the United States. And if that's true, which I believe it is, or I probably wouldn't talk about it, then I believe that actually Indiana is that epicenter. And then I like to call us the innovation capital of the world. By the way, if you Google that, it must be true, because I think I just saw it shows up 3 times now on page 1.
That's great.
It's
like somebody knows SEO.
There might be a little math behind that. And it's all very intentional, right? But part of Innovate or Evaporate is we need to start telling our stories in Indiana. And not only people who live here, but people who pass through here, come here to do business or come for events or to see their families. And we have to harness that and leverage that and tell these stories about all the great things that are going on. And then if I'm going to make a claim that we're the innovation capital of the world, I'd have to have some reasons to back that up, right? And so infrastructure, talent, mission critical industry, technology, lifestyle, cost of living, and regulatory environment, we have more number one collectively. Maybe I shouldn't say more. We have as many number one, top 5, top 10 rankings nationally and globally as anybody else geographically.
It's amazing when you look at the assets that are here. The corporate assets, the academic assets, the investment assets, the operating environment, the connectivity, all of those pieces make this place something special.
It truly is special. Rally that we launched 3 years ago, and there's now been, I think, 10,000 people who come from across the globe, like 40 countries and 40 states, 5 Canadian provinces. But the number one thing that they all say when they come here is, we didn't know that this ecosystem existed. You people are really nice. You actually make the connections. We didn't realize you had all these assets. And I want to expand my business here, or some of them have actually moved here. And so I'm going to move here and start my business. It's been amazing.
When you look at all the interactions you've had through Innovate or Evaporate, through the 8 companies you've started, exited, there's so many stories that come out, so many lessons learned that have come out. One of the things that I love about the Innovate or Evaporate podcast is it's not just stories. Stories are powerful. They evoke emotion, but there's also a really incredible way to educate. And you do that with each and every one of these episodes. What are 2 or 3 of the big lessons that you've pulled from the Kevin O'Learys of the world, or the A-Rods of the world, or maybe an author or 2 that you've had on? What are some of those lessons that you're bringing to Innovate or Evaporate?
I think some of them are probably going to sound really simplistic. But one is back to, like, your origin does not dictate your destination. And, my background. I grew up on a small farm, particle board floor. We didn't have any money.
No TV.
Right. All that kind of fun stuff. I was just very curious. Like, this word, creative curiosity, was a theme this year for Rally. This word curious is so powerful. They're all curious, and they all just go do, and they don't accept that my current situation is going to dictate where I'm going to end up in life. And I think there's never been a more outpouring of people wanting to help people than especially like this last 5 or 10 years. It on one hand, it feels like humanity has never wanted to help humanity more. On another side, it feels like there's a lot of chaos out there. But this origin and destination thing, I think, is so critical, because we as humans, your experiences, my experiences, anybody's experiences, those are the most important thing. That is absolute factual And it's very easy to feel like a victim, but we can choose to be a victor. And that's why I just want to encourage is don't let anything situational around you. If you're in a bad situation, make a plan to get out of it. Surround yourself with people who prop you up, pump you up. I want to be helpful. And sometimes that requires some tough decisions when people are creating drama in your life and you just have to kind of place that off to the side. It doesn't mean you ignore it, but you kind of put it on a shelf, but it doesn't have to control you. And so that's the biggest thing. We have a phrase we use a lot called on-ramps for all. And the theory is just do. Like, it's great to dream. I love dreaming. I love fantasizing, dreaming, whatever word you want to use. But we'll never get there if we don't take the first step, if we don't act, if we don't do.
Right.
And I think that's really a common theme of all the folks that have come through that we've talked with. And I can't wait some of the other folks that we have planned. But it's just, it comes down to, I think, having that confidence to take the first step and know that you are enough. You are worthy. Whatever your skill set is, there is a path waiting for you.
One of my favorite stories from Innovate or Evaporate, the podcast will soon be on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. This episode's the first one, is Amy Brown.
Yep.
Amy, an amazing human being,
Yes.
CEO of a company called Authenticx, using AI for healthcare. I have goosebumps as I share this story. I remember her sharing, look, I'm not a coder.
Yep.
Didn't really know much about AI, but saw this as an opportunity. Like, that's a thing. She is the epitome of everything you just said of, hey, I'm going to take a step. Like, I have this dream. Amy is the example for many, for all of us, really. You have an idea, you have a thesis, go chase it.
Yes. So you just gave me chills. Amy's amazing. What sticks out to me the most, so Amy is a problem solver. She's a pain point, like, solution provider. She knows, because she was in the industry.
Right.
And she knows that one of the most difficult things to get into with healthcare, like IT type products, is workflow. Or how do you integrate into the workflow? And what she did that I think is so brilliant is she hired nurses to sit alongside the engineers. And so if you just gave that pain point to engineers that don't understand the daily routines and the daily workflows, et cetera, you're going to go through a lot of pivots. And everybody goes through pivots. And by the way, I don't want to say that pivots are a bad thing. I think they're a good thing.
Right.
But that simple, which it sounds simple, but like to say, I'm going to take people who are not technical at all, but they had that domain expertise for this pain point, and pair them with the people who can make the product. And that's where magic happens.
It's one of my favorite stories here in Indianapolis. Self-described fan, also a member of the team, ExactTarget, to me was that story. Now this is, the IPO was in 2012. So we're more than a decade post-IPO, more than a decade post-acquisition by Salesforce. But I'll never forget Scott Dorsey, I think one of the greatest leaders this city, this state, maybe this country has ever seen, a brilliant entrepreneur.
Yep.
We're by marketers for marketers. Your point exactly. I wasn't a tech guy. There were others that weren't tech people.
Yes.
But we were marketers at our core, and it was understanding the problem to be solved and then working with technologists to say, let's turn this solution into a product and let's go out and inspire and energize the world to change this future.
Absolutely. And you think about the ExactTarget story, and there's several companies that come to mind, but ExactTarget, we'll just stick on that for a moment. But you think about the ecosystem expansion.
Absolutely.
As a result of that one company that they hit that wave and rode that wave, hired great people, had a great product. And that's the reason we now have, exit for $2.6 billion, and to Salesforce. And now we have the second largest physical presence in the world of Salesforce sitting right here on the circle, just a few blocks away from here.
Amazing.
And that just changes the dynamic and the perception of what you can do in a geographic location. I also think about Lilly.
Absolutely.
Right. And the Lilly Endowment and the Pacers organization, the Colts organization, like folks who want to have a great company, right? And you got to have a profit and have a strong business, but they also understand the importance of community.
That's right. And want to invest in a place and see it as their job, as their duty, maybe is a better way to frame it.
Yeah.
to make this place better. And one of the things that I think is universal across all those stories, something that you always bring out on the Innovate or Evaporate podcast, is speed. Is when you look at the greatest stories of entrepreneurs, there's risk, there's a really desire to act, but there's always a component of speed. As you look at this environment we're in today as it relates to innovation, what do people underestimate? When you're talking with entrepreneurs, when you're talking with fellow investors, when you're talking with maybe policymakers even, what's underestimated today about speed?
Relationships. So I'll go talk to students a lot, high school students or college students. And one thing I talk with them about is you have already started your professional career. And so if you're in high school and you're flipping burgers, you want to aspire to be the best burger flipper that ever lived.
That's right.
And because that manager's watching you, and you're going to need that manager for a reference for the next job, right? So, are you bullying people on social media? Are you trying to perform the burger flipping, or if you're a host at a restaurant, or if you're digging ditches, whatever you're doing, if you just don't create, I tell my son, right? Like 90% of life is show up on time, right? Eyes wide open, head up, shoulders back, shake a hand, look people in the eye, say thank you, anticipate their needs, always lead with value first. And like those simple things will take you so far.
That's right.
That I think we underestimate. But those relationships start early. And if I look back at my personal path, I would not be sitting here talking to you if it wasn't for a litany of people that I did things for. Putting trash in a dumpster the proper way the first time, my second job. Detasseling corn and then trasher, putter and dumpster guy. But I was going to be the best trasher, putter and dumpster guy on a construction site you ever saw. And so that led to my boss became kind of a lifelong mentor, and sometimes a silent mentor, where I would just think back to how he acted in situations that I observed would influence what I would do in certain situations.
It's interesting. I'm hearing. I worked at a little place in Kokomo, Indiana. One of my first jobs was a company called Cone Palace. If you've ever traveled north on US 31, Toph, I would just encourage you during the fall, pumpkin ice cream, maybe some of the best you'll ever have. Lisa Smeltzer was one of the owners, and Lisa shared this. It's a story that, oh my gosh, it's so good. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Like you are not sitting idle. If there's not customers, you don't lean, clean. If you have time to lean, you have time to clean. I mean, that's been 30 years ago, 35 years ago that Lisa uttered those words, and I'm still sharing them just as she's sitting right here with me. It's those small things, right? The lessons that you learn all along this journey that makes it possible to deliver innovation.
I love that. You just made me think of Dirty 30.
Tell me more.
So I used to be part of a group that owned some Sky Zones, some trampoline parks. And the general manager that we brought in, who became our COO, great guy. He was a Fazoli's turnaround guy. But he invented the Dirty 30. So it's a massive facility, right, with a lot of springs and moving parts and things. And it was every shift you clean for 30 minutes. And when you do those little things, then this massive facility, it's no big deal. Because when the parents show up with the kids, they want a nice, clean, smell good place for their kids to burn energy. When I had a painting company in college, I would clean up the drop cloths and the paint chips every single day. I never left a site dirty. And so it is, those little things become so massive. And when I went to start other companies, some of those previous customers became investors. Like it's just a big snowball effect.
Yeah, there is this relational balance sheet that continues to grow, continues to generate dividends that lead you into the future. As you think about the Innovate or Evaporate podcast, you've got a massive tailwind behind you. You have an amazing amount of guests that have already signed up for 2026. This is the first time many in the IBJ Media Podcast Network listenership have heard of Innovate or Evaporate. What can they expect here in 2026 and beyond?
I think that you can expect to, some of these names will be names you will recognize. Some of these names will be names that you don't recognize, but they're doing really amazing things in the ecosystem. And you mentioned speed a moment ago. So I don't believe that economic development has borders or boundaries. We mentioned verticals and silos. I believe silos are gone. And what I'm so excited about is when we share these stories more and more and more, we have some other people in the ecosystem working on some really interesting things. And this just happened at a Pacers game the other night. I was talking with Greg Enos and Don Palmer.
Great man.
They are working on, C7 as a group that they've started, just has a massive ripple effect of positivity, and it's faith driven, but they want to turn Indiana into the joy capital of the world. You've got Matt Mindrum, who I first heard from, and I know Christian Anderson is also taking this mantle and trying to move it forward. But like, what is Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Right. And so they're working on a speed city. And so back to this idea of speed. Speed it applies to everything. Speed of relationships, of growth of company, of raising capital, of meeting customers, meeting partners, whatever it might be. And so you think about these, I love these three legs of the stool concept where you have speed and joy and innovation.
Wow.
And when you bring those three things together, we think about our next generation. Your girls are 6 and 8 years old, right? My son is 18. He's a senior. And I'm jealous because I wish I had a 6 and 8 year old in the house running around causing all kinds of havoc. Kids they're just the best.
They are.
But they are our future. And so if we can put these mechanisms in place, kind of put these puzzle pieces together, I want Indiana to be in the top 5 geographic locations in the world across the entire globe as literally the best place where you can live, work, and play. Like truly do that.
Yeah.
And with these foundational components, there's no doubt in my mind that we can do that. And I think that we start to help people to think differently, help advance our culture. We can stay humble,
right?
But let's get more confident. And let's engage these folks on a deeper level that are coming to our state, that are coming to our cities, and also make the folks that live here, that were born here, live here, have grown up here, to know more about what's going on around them. And I want to add one more thing. I think about all these students. Our talent is second to none that we raise in the state and that we educate in the state. You think about Rose-Hulman and Purdue and IU and Ball State and Marion. And there's just all of these incredible colleges and universities. They don't know what's going on around them in a 250-mile radius. And we teach them, whatever our school chant is and where the mess hall is. How about if we showed them the innovation and the opportunities that exist? We can do that in the same rah-rah session on day one.
Without a doubt. You look at Innovate or Evaporate, the name of this podcast, it is also a call to action, right? When you hear that and you think about whether it's my 2 little girls, your boy, the thousands of students that cross our borders every year to come here to learn and to be educated, it's our duty. It's our job. It's our responsibility as dads, as leaders in this community, also as people running organizations, to help people understand what's here so they can innovate. Because if they don't innovate, the latter becomes true, and that's Evaporate.
100%. And back in 1979, we developed the first sports commission, created this first sports commission in the country. And some folks got around and said, what are we going to be when we grow up one day?
Yeah.
And they chose this sports idea and sports capital of the world. Now you have a whole other group taking this women's sports capital of the world and bringing that to bear. And I think that's going to happen too with the Marvella project. And
Marvella's amazing.
It's amazing. And so these very intentional acts, what's our next chapter?
Right.
And I don't think we've chosen that yet, quite honestly. And so maybe there's better ideas out there. It doesn't have to be the ones that we talk about here, but Speed City, Music City, that almost didn't become a thing.
Right.
They were like, what? The marketer showed up and they had this plan and they let's own music. And they're like, no, that's way too small and puts us in a. Can you imagine Nashville not being a music city right now?
Right.
Right. Of course it is. Speed is something that's very organic, right, and authentic to Indiana, to Indianapolis. And so I love that idea. Speed City, innovation capital of the world. Just to rattle off a couple stats for those who may not be believers listening to this podcast yet. When we think about infrastructure, we have the number 1 infrastructure, right? The number 1 ranked medium-sized airport in North America, I think 12 years running. 3 premier inland ports. We have a beach. We have 43 miles of beach, just like going to the ocean. We're bordered by more water than we are land. Talent. We have the number one engineering college, Rose-Hulman, 27 years running per U.S. News and World Report. We have the largest medical school at IU. We have Purdue with multiple number one online engineering degrees. We've got Notre Dame up there with the largest Catholic research university. Mission critical industries. We've got the number one valued pharma company,
Sure.
the number one pure play ag company, the number two animal health company. We're the number one advanced manufacturing jobs. We're the orthopedics capital of the world. We're the racing capital of the world. I mean, just the list goes on. We've had recent rankings for number one for home renters, for first-time home buyers, most affordable city, safest city, best place to raise a family, best place to start a tech company 2 years ago. 94% of our legislation is passed in a bipartisan fashion. And I'll leave it there. But there's a lot more I could rattle on for another hour. But these are things that we just do.
Right.
Because, we're Hoosiers, and we love our neighbor, and we just go do stuff. Let's start sharing those stories.
Well, I'm eager for you to start sharing those stories even broader, even louder here on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Before we wrap up, one, maybe two more quick questions. And one is, I think, just this. You have an amazing podcast. You've built an incredible audience. You have amazing guests. Why join the IBJ Media Podcast Network, and why now?
Well, for me, that's pretty simple. IBJ is where business convenes in Indiana. Full stop. So the influencers, the business folks that can help make things happen across the state, they go to IBJ. They go to Inside Indiana Business. And if we can just lean on each other more intentionally, more efficiently, that's the whole key. So we're absolutely honored to be on your network, and we could not be more excited.
Well, thank you. Super kind. And to say that I'm excited is probably not doing it justice, Toph, to have a chance to work with you again. A lot of folks now are fired up. They've heard the stats. They've heard the guest list. Where do they start? Where do they need to go back in the catalog from 2025 and start listening? Favorite episode?
It's really hard to pick a favorite. I'm getting chills right now just having kind of flashbacks and conversations. There's so many amazing ones. One of my favorites is Daryl McDaniels, who is the DMC of Run DMC. And that guy is so brilliant. And what hopefully he would be okay with me saying this, but from his podcast and that conversation, the way he got into starting to make music, et cetera, and where he first saw it was on a playground. They had some recording device. One of his friends come over here and check this new thing out. Some old school, big brick recording device. He's a poet.
Huh.
And with his organic skill set of being a poet, look what he did. And he also talks about, forget Michael Jordan and LeBron James with their shoe deals. He was the OG with Adidas, with a shoe deal. Right?
That's amazing.
And I can't remember where he grew up exactly, somewhere there in New York. But and he literally can remember the first lyrics that he wrote, however many years ago, 30 years, 40 years ago, whatever it was. And can just recite them on cue. And so his passion, his energy, and just the fact that his skill set of poetry, being a poet, and how he manifested that into something that was a massive cultural shift. It's amazing.
It's incredible. Eager to dig in. I'm eager to dig into the catalog. Toph Day, host of the Innovate or Evaporate podcast. Welcome to the IBJ Media Podcast Network. And your next episode of Innovate or Evaporate will have this guy as host, Toph Day, and I'll just be cheering on from the sidelines. Toph, welcome to the network.
Thank you so much, Mitch. We're looking forward to it.
Me too.